It was approximately 10 o'clock when I received a call saying that the channels were down. And I received an SMS saying that the internet bank had some sort of trouble, that it didn't work and the clients couldn't use the internet bank. They didn't know exactly what was going on and I started to try to sort it out. From previous events we knew that it could be an attack, so we found out quite quickly that it was an attack. In the morning of the 27th of April 2007, amidst a row about the relocation of a Soviet-era memorial to fallen soldiers in Tallinn, Estonia fell victim to a cyber attack of a scale and sophistication never seen before. These were service denial attacks where very many computers sent a lot of queries to our servers. When we usually have thousands of clients sending their queries, now there were hundreds of thousands, and they repeated their queries more frequently than people usually do. And banks were not the only victims. The websites of the government, national ministries, the media, the police, and even the national emergency number were also brought down.
People of Estonia felt that there is a real threat to the national security, to all the people. The tension was high, people wanted to get the news, very many are online, so they went for news services and suddenly they didn't have the access. Then they wanted to do their banking via internet and the banking servers were down. So there was quite an emotional reaction that there's something wrong, well, up to the point that the government is not in charge.
The attacks went on for more than 2 weeks, isolating the most connected European country. NATO was called in for help.
NATO received for the first time from a member nation an assistance request to defend against the cyber attacks. So NATO was not fully ready for it because it never happened before, but yet NATO put a small amount of assistance in terms of sending an observer there, and after the incidents to put a coordination role by coordinating with the other member nations whatever the assistance available to help the colleagues in Estonia.
When Estonia was attacked, NATO was already defending itself against cyber attacks on a daily basis.
While Estonia was under the very significant denial of service attacks, NATO too was under attack at the same time from the same sort of attackers. And so we had our own networks to defend as well.
NSERC is located in the south of Belgium. It works round the clock to prevent, detect and respond to cyber attacks against NATO computer networks, which are vital to the safety and success of NATO operations around the world.
Jeff is one of our analysts. He's looking at tens of thousands of cyber alerts, looking for potential attacks. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack, but with a combination of his expertise and the technology we've deployed, we have a fighting chance.
NATO has had its own cyber defense program since 2002, but the events in Estonia reminded everyone just how vulnerable modern societies are to the cyber threat and pushed the alliance to develop a policy extending cyber defense beyond the protection of its own networks.
NATO is now committed to provide assistance to a member nation when that is requested, and also in case-by-case situation to a partner nation if that's also needed.
Our utility services such as water, gas, electricity, our air safety services, defense services, and of course our financial services all depend on their computer networks. Take away those networks, interrupt their service, and the effects could be devastating.
Hackers know that. They can launch an attack from anywhere in the world, and they're difficult to trace. This is why the NATO Cooperative Cyber Defense Centre of Excellence in Tallinn is so strategic.
I would say the military term is train as you fight and fight as you train. So it applies same way for the whatever you do, cyber defense. You have to have training on all levels. It's not only the security administrators, IT specialists, but also the regular military members have to know how to deal with those things.
The Centre of Excellence brings together experts from several NATO member states, and the list of contributing nations keeps growing. Together they develop strategies to prevent, detect and fight cyber attacks.
Behind this door, this is the place where we do the cyber defense research and development. Unfortunately, this is a secure area and I cannot let you in.
The cyber attacks that hit Estonia in 2007 and other countries later made everyone realize to what extent an attack conducted from cyberspace can disrupt people's lives. It's clear that the Estonian economy is very vulnerable to an attack from cyberspace, as it depends greatly on the internet. For example, 98% of bank transactions are done electronically. So of course that means that if you manage to shut down those electronic channels, you'll stop the circulation of money and the economy with it.
I think this is one of the lessons learned. Whenever we want to build our defense against cyber attacks, this has to be a fast response. Fast in minutes, not in hours.
Aware of these new rules, NATO has been improving its cyber defense capabilities to be able to protect citizens against attacks conducted from cyberspace, and continues to do so.
NATO is transforming itself to meet the challenges of the 21st century, and cyber defense is one of the core components of this. So NATO is deploying more cyber defense capabilities, operational, technical, on the computer networks, developing capabilities to assist a member nation.
We learned a lot of lessons from the events that happened in Estonia. The nature of cyber attacks is that they affect nations and organizations in the same way. It's absolutely essential that we employ collective defense. We need to work very closely with our partner nations and our commercial partners as well, because we can all learn from each other, we can help each other, and we can help protect each other. So if we make a front page article of recent attacks, get this done final as soon as we can, so that we can...
Sir, there's something really strange going on. You have to take a look at this.
Yeah, okay.
Sir, 10 minutes ago I noticed a worm moving through our network, hundreds and hundreds of machines using an MSRPC exploit with multiple evasion techniques. Antivirus does not detect this, but luckily we do.
Which site is that?
This is Site 1.
Chris, what do you think?
I think we need to respond immediately.
Okay. Jax, declare this as an incident. Chris, let's get the management team together as soon as we can.
This is NATO's Computer Incident Response Capability Technical Centre, the heart of the Alliance's fight against cybercrime.
We believe that it is exploiting the recent .lnk vulnerability. It actually tries to propagate itself using network shares and the removable drives.
NATO's member nations report 5 or 6 important cyber incidents every day. This time, it's only an exercise. Following any attack, the Centre's director, Ian West, calls together experts from the departments concerned. Everyone knows what they have to do. Things can get out of hand in a matter of seconds.
NATO's Computer Incident Response capability provides cyber defense services for all NATO sites, whether they're static headquarters or deployed in our operations or exercises. And we do this by trying, wherever possible, to prevent incidents and attacks from happening. But where we can't prevent them, we need the ability to be able to detect them and respond quickly to them. And when those attacks are successful, which unfortunately sometimes they are, we need to be able to recover the systems so that we can get back to our normal operations as soon as possible.
Cyber attacks are growing in number and in scale, from individuals seeking notoriety to gangs trying to cripple states. Recently, hacktivists from the group Anonymous called on their members to target NATO. Before that, the WikiLeaks affair made headlines worldwide, exposing, among other things, diplomatic cables allegedly stolen by a disgruntled soldier. In seconds, computers across several borders can come under fire. European nations and institutions have also been hit. NATO's priorities now are to help allies prevent attacks, to provide services like education and training, and to lend a hand in times of crisis.
Cyber attacks are increasing every day against NATO systems, against important systems in our member states. And NATO therefore has to go beyond purely providing protection to its own systems, which was a little bit where we were before the attacks in 2007 against Estonia, to being able to offer cyber services, cyber protection to our member states so that we can help them to prevent attacks, detect attacks, and if attacks take place, quickly respond to limit the damage.
The attacks on NATO member Estonia brought its ministries, parliament, banks and media to a grinding halt. They were a turning point in the way aggression via computers is perceived. NATO set up a cyber defense centre of excellence in the capital Tallinn, dedicated to research, development and the training of experts, as well as to sharing information and lessons learned. But the Stuxnet virus, which appeared in 2010 and seriously set back Iran's nuclear program, made the leap from the virtual to the real world. Critical infrastructure like power stations, transport networks and hospitals have never seemed so vulnerable. Adrian Velciu is in charge of security at Transelectrica, the operator of Romania's electrical network. He's permanently in the front line, defending a critical piece of national infrastructure, because, as Adrian says, security is always too much until it's not enough.
This place is the most important key asset of the critical infrastructure for electricity. From this point, all the commands are given for a smooth operation of the whole electricity sector in Romania and also in the southern part of Europe. Due to the importance of this facility, we have here a high level of security, not only for physical security, but also for cyber security. If something goes wrong here, the whole country will be affected. A lot of people and a lot of activities of the state will be put in a bad position. The risk is very high to have a blackout, not only in Romania, but also for the neighboring countries, because of the interconnections in the European grid. We rely on very well-trained people, trained also in security, but also on cyber security and the fight against terrorism. We were trained also in some seminars with NATO.
Transelectrica's IT department is managed by Teletrans, a telecommunications operator that controls, among other things, the network's secured computer system, known as EMS SCADA.
After the attack by the Stuxnet virus, we understood for the first time that the SCADA system is not invulnerable to attack, as we thought before. After that, we carried out some audits. At this very moment, we're conducting an audit to check all the security points in the EMS SCADA system to be sure there are no problems. It is impossible to get into the system by accident.
Back at NATO, the experts are trying to counter the attack as the exercise unfolds.
We've noticed some suspicious events coming from your site. Can you please check your EPO server and to verify as well whether your systems are receiving patches correctly or whether they're not patched?
The goal is to detect weaknesses and supply patches, but this is not a job NATO can do alone. Without the help of private industry, companies specialized in protecting computers and systems, its defense network would be compromised.
Hi Arthur, actually the custom detection signatures are available from the vendor. Could you please publish them on the portal immediately? Yes, thank you.
One company which provides software and expertise to the Allies is Symantec. The head of its Government Affairs in Europe department, Ilias Chantsos, is only too aware of the size of the problem. Over the last 8 years, the number of new viruses appearing annually has risen from around 25,000 to 286 million.
The more our daily life is dependent on critical infrastructure and on ICT to run it, like the distribution of energy or the telecommunications or even transport systems, the more we're dependent on computers to run all these facilities, the more by the moment these systems are being attacked, it becomes a threat to our national security and to our economy and to the way we live our daily life.
At the moment, it's the cyber criminals operating in networks who have the advantage. To stand a chance, NATO and its partners must pool their resources.
Industry, government, critical infrastructure operators need to find ways to cooperate better and exchange information better in order to also better understand what the threat is and how they can collectively defend themselves.
One of NATO's key partners is the European Union. In Brussels, the EU's efforts to prevent and fight cybercrime is being coordinated by Home Affairs Commissioner Cecilia Malmström. Clearly there's no sense in doubling up.
But sometimes you don't know where the attack comes from, and sometimes it can affect the critical infrastructure that's critical for us, but also for NATO. And to build up competences, exercises, analysis, intelligence, preparedness, awareness raising, it seems a bit unnecessary to do that in parallel, where we can really join forces, because only the criminals will benefit from us doing parallel things.
Sometimes it's too late for prevention. At NATO, the decision's been taken to dispatch a team of rapid response experts to help on the ground. The team has grown out of NATO's cyber defence policy, which was revised by defence ministers in June 2011. Efforts now focus on preventing threats and building resilience. The United States has even urged its allies to consider that a major cyber attack on any member should be deemed an attack on all and warrant a collective response, including the use of military force.
I think is a powerful sort of political signal that we do not consider that cyber attacks are somehow the acceptable form of conflict in a way that launching a nuclear weapon against somebody is the unacceptable form of conflict. It's an attack. An attack via electrons is just as unacceptable as an attack by tanks or aircraft.
At Transelectrica, Adrian Velciu's workday has come to an end and he's heading home. Of course, his family computer is shielded from viruses. Like his nation's security authorities, Adrian is particularly conscious of the need to protect and back up his sensitive data. Romania must remain vigilant and work closely with its international partners and industry to ensure that the people of Bucharest can sleep easy.